Hey everybody, this is Kirsten here. Welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. Today we're talking about adjusting your macros and why not adjusting your macros by always eating the same amount of macros for months and months and sometimes years and years is the reason why you haven't been able to change your body composition, whether you want to lose body fat or whether you want to gain muscle. Before that, though, make sure that you join my Fit and Fueled Facebook group. We have a lot of fun in this group. I'm going live there 3 days a week, sharing a lot of information about fat loss and weight loss and gaining muscle and also staying healthy throughout this process. So I really recommend that you join and that you also bring your friend. We're having a good time there. And the lives that I'm doing there actually are not going to be on this podcast. So the lives are the only way where you can see them, or being a group member is the only way you can see these lives. And most of the time, I also create a PDF guide based on the topic that I'm talking about that day. So if you would like to read more, then they're just like short little one-page PDFs usually that really give you the nuts and bolts of the topic that we covered. And like I said, everything is focused on healthy body composition change. And lately there's been a lot more emphasis on especially perimenopause and menopause, because there are a lot of ladies in my group who are that age and need support. So if you are not a member yet, make sure that you join the group. I hope to see you there. Okay, so today, as I said, we're going to talk about why adjusting macros is so important, and also on the flip side, why not ever adjusting your macros could be the reason why you are stuck, why you stopped seeing results, even though at first you may have gotten amazing results, but then it just stopped. You feel like you hit a wall, what the heck is going on, and you don't know what the problem is. So very often I see exactly this scenario. And lately there's been number 1600, and I don't know why 1600 calories is such a common number to give to, seems like every woman. But so many women who I have talked to lately have told me that, yes, I had a coach and she gave me my macros and the calories were about 1600 or sometimes 1650. And they stayed this way. And now I have been eating like this. Sometimes it's 6 months, but sometimes it is a year or even 1.5 years. And at first the weight went down nicely, right? Because this was a calorie deficit for them. So it went down and then it just stopped. The scale didn't move anymore. And even worse, it actually started going in the opposite direction. So now they're gaining weight and they're confused. Like, what is going on? I'm eating the same amount that I did before. It worked so well for me earlier, and now it's like I'm broken, something is not working anymore. And what I often also hear is that that people say that, yeah, I wanted to ask my coach, but she was always so busy, and she probably has like hundreds or some, maybe even like thousands of clients, and I kind of don't want to bother her. And by the way, if this is you, then I would say you have to find a better coach, because you have to be able to communicate with your coach a lot. And he or she has to be ready to answer your questions and make adjustments as needed, because it's not normal that you don't have, contact. You have no way to talk to your coach or feel bad about contacting him or her. This is not right. I mean, you're paying money, so you have the right to get all the attention that you need. So make sure that you work with somebody who provides you that. Okay, so let's talk about adjustments then. So my main message here today is that you're not supposed to be eating the same amount of calories all the time, especially if we're talking about deficit calories. So you went into deficit and now you've been in deficit for like a year. Why is that wrong? Well, because your metabolism adapts to a low number of calories, and then eventually you will start losing because your just body doesn't want to let go of anything. So you stop losing weight. And I want to tell you about the cases where I adjust macros and when I do it. So you see that actually, while it's not going to be a weekly thing, it also cannot be that you go like a year with the same macros. So some of the cases when I make macro adjustments is, for example, when somebody goes into calorie deficit with me and they actually start losing weight really, really quickly. Now, it doesn't happen very often in my practice because I'm more of a conservative coach. I'm not going to put anybody like, let's slash like 50% of their calories down. But if there is somebody who starts losing, let's say like 2 pounds every, let's say 3 pounds every single week, then that's a really fast pace. And while it might be like super, super exciting at first, you're like, oh my goodness, this is awesome, then it may just be too much. And we may get you weight loss, fat loss results also by cutting a little bit less, right? Cutting your calories down a little bit less. And so now when I see that you've been losing like 3 pounds all the time, I'm actually going to put some of the calories back so that we increase the calories again. And now by doing that, we're actually keeping your metabolism healthier. Remember also, one really important thing to understand about calorie deficit is that yes, we go into deficit, and yes, it is stressful in the body, but we want to minimize that stress. So as little as possible. And now if we can cut less and still get you the result, this is what we want to do. So sometimes when I see people lose weight too quickly, we're like, hey, why don't we add X number of calories to see if you're still losing? And this is very, very important. We want to keep the metabolism healthy. Now, another case when I am absolutely adjusting the macros is when we have been in a deficit for, let's say, 12 weeks. And 12 weeks, that's about 3 months of calorie deficit. And then we need to do a diet break. Now, this is a totally new concept for so many of you. Like, what the heck is that? Diet break, why? Well, let me tell you, the reason is that we want to give your metabolism a break. If you're in a calorie deficit, I've said it a million times, you are under a little bit of a stress, depending on how big this cut is. The bigger the cut, the deeper the cut, the more stress it is, right? But even if it's less of a cut, less stress, you still need a diet break, right? Because your body still perceives stress. So during this diet break, we're going to take 1 to 3 weeks when we are eating higher calories. Now, this is not a free pass to go crazy and like eat whatever the heck you want in unlimited quantities. This is not what it is. It's still strategic. It's still calculated. You will still have to track, but it is quite significantly higher calories than what you consumed when you were in a deficit. So that will upregulate your metabolism. That will upregulate the thyroid. That will help your adrenals. That will upregulate your sex hormones, right? So we get all these upregulated for 1 to 3 weeks. I prefer to do three. I don't think I've actually even done one, only 2 or 3 weeks. One is really the minimum. And during that time, you're going to get healthier again. And then we go back into a calorie deficit. So see that adjustment there? I'm talking about 12 weeks. Now compare that to what so many women are doing, like 52 weeks in a calorie deficit. No wonder, like, I wonder, yeah, why are we getting so burnt out and fatigued and hit a weight loss plateau? Because there's never a break. So we have to take that diet break. And after that 2 or 3 week diet break, we can go back into a calorie deficit if you have further goals. Definitely can do that. But you know what? Sometimes even the calorie deficit this time around doesn't have to be as deep. So you may be able to continue losing body fat by eating a tiny bit higher than what you did in your previous deficit. And again, the idea here is the same. We want to cut as little as possible to get you the result that you desire, right? So we have already adjusted macros here. So I talked about, we go into deficit and we adjust, we bring you up, we increase the calories, we increase the macros, and then we go back down and do a deficit. And then, of course, after that second round, you will need a reverse diet. Another thing that no diets ever talk about, reverse diet. How do you transition out of your fat loss? Are you going to stay in fat loss forever? Bad idea, terrible idea, don't do that. So again, bunch of adjustments. How do we get you out of that deficit? We start increasing your calories gradually, bring you back to a healthy place. And those who really follow through, those who really stick in with the program and follow through the whole process, they will get amazing results. And a lot of people don't have that patience. They're like, I don't want to do this, or this is too much, or whatever the reasons are, that there's next shiny object they want to run towards. But those people who go through this process and do everything the way I described you, they're really successful, and they are able to also maintain the results. Now, is there another time when I adjust when I adjust macros? Is that obviously if you are not getting results in your first deficit. Let's say that your deficit calories are about 1,700 and there's been 4 weeks and you haven't seen any results, well, then we have to adjust and then we have to reduce a little bit. So again, there's an adjustment there. And let's see if this will get things moving, if we start seeing changes in your body composition, fat percentage, photos, measurements, scale. So also, like I said earlier, if you start losing super quickly, we adjust. And also, if nothing changes, then we have to adjust as well. So there are so many ways, so many reasons why your macros shouldn't stay the same. And honestly, the worst thing to do is to stay in a deficit for way too long. This is the biggest mistake that I see people make, and they're getting frustrated. They're thinking that this is somehow their fault, right? They start blaming their hormones, like, but this worked so well before. So, now I'm like 1 year older, must be my hormones. But we have to think, what did we do to our hormones if we stayed in a, let's say, on 1600 calories for 12 months? It's not that the hormones decided that, let's let's be mean to her. No, that's not how it happens. Your hormones are acting the way they do because you just have been starving yourself for a little too long. And that's why your body becomes so protective. It doesn't want you to let go of anything. So that's why adjustments are necessary. And you have to know how to do them. It cannot be random. So I hope this message is helpful for you and makes you think a little bit, and take a look at your history. How have you been eating in the past year or two or more? Have you always been in a deficit? Have you ever increased or decreased anything? Have you ever made any changes? Because if the numbers have always been the same and you feel stuck, well, then that's probably the reason why you have been stuck. Okay, thank you so much for listening to this episode today. If you have any questions, go ahead, and you can always, reach me on Instagram or Facebook, and definitely in my Fit and Fueled Facebook group as well. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode.